Good evening everybody, how are we doing? We are live, it is 10 o'clock, it's Sunday. We don't normally scope on a Sunday, but Lee, good evening, thanks for joining us, but I couldn't do a book club scope on Friday because I was getting ready for, I'm going to LA later on this week, so I had quite a few things to do. Vishal, hello. Matt, hello, good evening, thank you for joining us. So yeah, we'll give people a few minutes to join as usual. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching it on Periscope on the replay, you can do for 24 hours. You can still hard it up, but you can't comment like people like Kim, who's just joined now, like she will be able to. But you can still hard it up if you like what you are hearing. If you're watching this replay on YouTube, because I upload everything at YouTube, then you can also leave comments underneath the video. So please do. Evening, Kim. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Sasha is here as well. So I'll wait for the gang to join. If you're not part of our Facebook group yet, and you're an actor, okay, my name's Ross. I'm an actor. I'm a voiceover artist from Manchester in the UK. A lot of these scopes we kind of on Monday and Wednesday when I scope, we'll be doing mind hacks and motivation to help everybody in life, but sometimes they focus on just the acting community and actors. No worries, Lee, catch up on the replay, dude. And Friday we do book club, which is really for everybody, but if you're an actor particularly, join us on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Bulletproof Actor. Kim, I am plugged in, I'm on aeroplane mode, I've got a coffee. Hello Sasha, Girly Whirly's here as well. Girly Whirly, how are we doing? So yeah, it's all good. I need this scope tonight as well. I've been having a rough day, people, to be honest with you, and it's quite apt that what we're talking about tonight, turning adversity into advantage. So tonight, hey Girly Whirly, how are we doing? I'm flying on Wednesday. No, I'm lying to you there, Sasha. I'm flying on Thursday to LA, but I'm going down to London and staying over on Wednesday, so I'll be travelling from Wednesday onwards. So tonight, yeah, we're doing normally on a Friday we do Bulletproof Book Club, and for the whole of November we've been looking at Lewis Howe's book, The School of Greatness. We've already looked at 3 chapters of Lewis's book. J Ray B, good evening to you as well. Let us know where you're viewing from. And we've looked at 3 chapters of Lewis's book so far. We have looked at creating a vision. We've looked at cultivating a champion's mindset. Last week we looked at practicing positive habits. Hope people are still keeping those positive habits up. I know Kim's been having breakfast, a healthy breakfast every day. We set positive habits for 28 days, just one simple habit that would help you kind of gain momentum first thing in the morning. Some people were journaling, some people making their bed, some people were eating a healthy breakfast. Let us know if you're still on course with that, which is good. And tonight we're looking at turning adversity into advantage, which is what I need to do, definitely. Still keeping up with the breakfast, awesome, good stuff. Yeah, I've got a very poorly cat, guys. I've had a cat for 18.5 years. Eric, my cat, he's a legend. He's been a part of the family for so long, and he's really ill, and he was really ill from September, really. He's got a tumour in his stomach, and we've been keeping him dead comfortable, and he's been all right. He's been kind of lively and still after food, he's cheeky as anything. But last couple of days, oh man, he's been going downhill. So I'm trying to flip it all, as I teach people to do mindset wise, to go, look, let's celebrate his life, let's appreciate all the amazing times I've had with him, let's look at all the advantages as opposed to the adversity. But it's hard, it's so hard when it's something like a life, but it does, when we're looking at turning adversity into advantage and what you can take from that. One thing it has made me appreciate so much today and yesterday is literally just how precious our own lives are, and everyone around us, our animals, our family, friends, everybody. Again, it just puts a lot of things into perspective. And he's just a cat, people will say, but he's a member of my family. Your cat's 22, Kim. Wow, that is amazing. I think the oldest cat in the world, I think, was 26 and 4 days. It is heartbreaking, Girly Whirly. It is heartbreaking. It is. It's really, honestly, like it's terrible, isn't it? Because they're just such a big part of our lives. Lee misses his cat. But it's just life. It's just one of them things, again, that makes me go, wow. It's just another reminder that we're here for a good time, not necessarily a long time, and let's not waste our lives worrying about stuff we can't control. They do become such a massive part of your life. They really, really do. Eric's just like a legend. He would normally be like, he'd be running up, he'd be jumping on this desk here. I would try and film videos for acts on this, and his tail would be like going out of the chair here. I'm going, Eric, you got to get off the chair. So I probably need this chapter and to read this as much as anybody right now. So we're going to go through chapter 2 of Lewis's book called Turn Adversity into Advantage. As always, it's a pretty kind of like long chapter. I can't read it all. We're going to do about 20 minutes, 25 minutes on it, and then we're going to look at an exercise at the end of how you can kind of reframe your mindset right now if you are facing adversity in your life. And you know what? We're all humans, and I reckon every single person on this scope is facing some kind of adversity right now. There's two types of adversity, and we'll look at them in a minute. But I know, you know, everybody in life, man, doesn't matter who you are, how successful you are, how much money you've got, whatever, you will always face adversity, probably on a daily basis. So we'll dive in. We're going to hear about Lewis, about some of the adversities people he knows in his life have faced. He's offered to do the audiobook for him. Do you know what, dude? I think he's already done it. I think he's done it. I'm probably going to meet Lewis when I go over to LA next week. Hopefully, he's done a book tour at the moment, but hopefully we'll be able to hook up for a coffee at least for half an hour or something. But I think he's done it. I'm pretty sure he's done the audiobook, and it sounds better. It's his words, man. It sounds better. I could maybe do the English version if he wants to do a British release. But it starts off anyway, and it says, it's a quote by Dolly Parton. It says, "Storms make trees take deeper roots." We've had a lot of storms in Manchester today. I'm going forward just 10 days, Sasha, just till the 14th of December. So it starts off, it says, "For most of us, it's difficult to imagine becoming a championship wrestler." Well, yeah, that definitely is. Carl, good evening. Great you're joining us. You're just in time. We're just starting reading chapter 2. So for most of us, it's difficult to imagine becoming a championship wrestler, a football player, a weightlifter, a mixed martial arts fighter, or a mountain climber. There are so many obstacles that stand in the way of each of those goals. Money, opportunity, coaching, talent and ability, confidence. Any one of them could derail these impressive dreams at any time. Now imagine becoming all of those things before you cut the cake on your 30th birthday. A friend of mine did. That's not a friend of mine, obviously, a friend of Lewis's. His name is Kyle Maynard, and he's one of the most inspiring teachers I've ever met. When he was a young man, those physical feats I just listed were only a few of the goals on his bucket list. A bucket that would never go empty and would one day include inspiring others to do great things. Kyle wanted to achieve his goals as badly as any person who aspired to greatness has wanted something. And by the middle of 2012, at the age of 26, he'd accomplished all of them. He played football in middle school, he was a championship wrestler in high school, and won 36 varsity wrestling matches during his senior year. He fought a full 3-round mixed martial arts MMA fight. He climbed the nearly 20,000 foot Kilimanjaro, so Mount Kilimanjaro, massive mountain in Africa, the single highest freestanding mountain on the planet. On their own, these might not sound like particularly lofty goals. I've met many other people who achieved these same dreams at a much higher level, yet none of them did it in the way Kyle did. When they did it, ESPN didn't award them with 2 ESPYs, there must be awards from ESPN, for their accomplishments the way the network did in Kyle's case. Why? Kyle's accomplishments stand head and shoulder above those of most other men his age, most other men period, because Kyle himself stands only 3 feet 8 inches tall. He's got he's a congenital amputee, a birth defect related to something called amniotic band syndrome, deprived him of the fully formed arms and legs that most of us take for granted. As he describes it, basically my arms end right where your elbows would be. For each arm they're both about the same length, and my leg ends slightly above where the knee is. And I have 2 feet, they're just a little bit different. Amniotic band syndrome occurs when the blood clots in utero and fibrous bands constrict the growth of fetal limbs. Doctors have no idea why it happens or what causes it, but they peg the statistical chances of it happening in an otherwise normal pregnancy at 1 in 10 million. Growing up, Kyle didn't just face the typical external obstacles all of us face at one time or another. He dealt with a whole unique set of struggles that were part of his life from the day he was born, and yet he accomplished each of the things he had envisaged for himself. So that's quite amazing in itself. So there's a guy, and we're all going to have these kind of problems, man. I mean, you know, not to that seriousness, I guess. I'm partially sighted. I've mentioned my eyes before on a lot of scopes. That's something that used to be a hugely limiting belief of mine. I talk about it a lot in Bulletproof Actor when I release Unstoppable Confidence, Infinite Success. It used to hold me back hugely. You might have something in your life that, you know, is physical. Maybe it's something that people can't see. A lot of people don't know there's anything wrong with me because they can't see anything from the outside. I look perfectly normal. It's only when people are like, put their hands out to shake my hand and I miss it, and they're like, don't leave me hanging, dude. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know you had your hand out. Or they will, you know, train conductor will be stood next to me looking for my ticket, and he's stood next to me and I've got no clue because my eyes, the condition I've got, it's like having blinkers on, it's like a horse. So I have no peripheral vision. So unless I'm scanning and looking around like this, I don't see anybody. So sometimes people will be stood right next to me. Or I have a stick, as you know. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, definitely, Carl. Yeah, I noticed that, but I didn't know how that kind of holds you back, or you know, or how, you know, kind of physically, you know, able you are, you know, when you don't have that. But these are all things that we can very easily just put in the way as an excuse of why we can and why we can't do things. And for me, it's never really been kind of like, you know, talk of a disability as such. It's me, it's just, you know, I still have the ability. I just have to adapt to, you know, just adapt that situation so that, you know, whatever it is, you know, I can do it. It's very, very little things that I can't do in life if I adapt myself to it. I can't drive, legally not allowed to drive. But apart from that, there's very few things that I can't, you know, do if I make allowances and go, right, okay, we'll have to do this in a slightly different way. So that might be you as well. It was Kyle, definitely. The guy's 3 feet tall, 3 feet 8 inches. And yet has done, I mean, to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, I only know one person personally who's done that. And she was sending me pictures and video from the mountain, and you know, when she was doing it and then afterwards as well. And oh my God, it's something that I would not want to do. And I'm like, you know, I would say I'm really very strong and capable. That's a huge feat to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, so fair play to this guy. So moving on, in Lewis's book, he says it's all in the doing. He says you should not feel bad for Kyle. Okay, pity isn't a feeling he's searching for. What I learned from Kyle over the course of our talks brought my understanding of goals and greatness into a kind of focus I never had before. Creating a vision is about clearly defining what you want, your goals, and who you want to be, your dreams. But goals and visions are one thing. They're made in our minds. They are only hypotheticals. Anyone can tell themselves they have a vision for what they want to create in the world. But it's our actions that dictate what we create in reality, where anything can and does happen. It's in the doing that goals become real. So Carl, when I came in to speak to you guys, when I was at Leeds, I was saying, you know, as part of the success cycle, belief in your own potential starts first, but then after that, the next thing that comes from believing in your own potential is the action that you take. And if you are taking massive action, you're going to get good or great results. So it's absolutely all in the doing, without a doubt. To be good at something requires talent, vision, and action. Greatness is what remains when the talent and vision meet adversity and persist in the face of it. This is what makes Kyle a great teacher, and it's why he can teach us more than just about anyone about overcoming adversity on the path to greatness. When it comes to greatness, he teaches us that there is no room in life for excuses. So Kyle says, when I was younger, when I was 10 years old, I used to cry myself to sleep some nights because I would just wish that I would wake up and have arms and legs. And no matter how hard I would have focused on that forever, it never would have happened. So when we go and focus on those things that we have no control over, it brings us nothing but unhappiness. So ask yourself this week, what are you focusing on? Cindy, good to see you. So yeah, what are you focusing on this week? Can you control it? Okay, if you can't control that situation, then it's only going to cause you, as Kyle says, nothing but unhappiness. So let's focus on the things that we can control, okay? And again, it's maybe cliched, and I've said it a lot of times before, but it's really all you can do, and it's the thing that's going to drive you forward. So this mindset is unsustainable when you're focusing on just the things you can't control, and it's unproductive in the face of adversity. It gets us nowhere. How does that old saying go? Wish in one hand, crap in the other, and see which one fills up first? That was a reality Kyle was forced to reckon with at an early age. As he said, no amount of focus or wishing was going to change anything. Like many of the breakthrough moments I've had in my life around the issues of adversity, Kyle's aha moment came on the football field. He was just 11 years old. Kyle says, I made my first tackle in a football game when I was 11. It seems like a relatively simple thing, but my life changed forever in that moment. I stopped having so many concerns over what might happen in the distant future. I stopped being consumed with wondering what I would do with my life. I used to question things like, would I have to live at home with my mum and dad forever? Would I ever have a girlfriend or a job someday? And the interesting part, it wasn't like I was given any answers to any of those questions. I was just playing football. This is when he made that first tackle. Kyle wasn't thinking or worrying or wishing, he was just doing. At 11 years old, it was in the action and the perseverance in the face of tall odds that obstacles started to dissolve, and he took his first concrete steps towards greatness. It became almost a philosophy of adversity, one that he lived by from that day forward. So he says, my life had changed its challenges since that tackle. My life has had its challenges since that tackle. But the concerns and fears I had over the future continued to subside until they became relatively non-existent. I mostly attribute that to putting myself in situations where I'm uncomfortable and staying with it until I become comfortable. When I was 19, I gave a speech to several thousand of the world's most successful businesses. Oh, Periscope, have you missed a bit of Periscope there, Kim? It looks like it's been alright from my end, but let me know if people are cutting out. Or anything like that. It seems to be consistent, so the replay will definitely be consistent. So we've just been talking again about Kyle, Kim, Lewis's mate Kyle, the 3'8", guy who's done all these amazing things. And he said his first point of clarity came on the football field when he made a tackle. And it wasn't like a massive moment for many people just making a tackle in football, but for him, with in his situation, it was a big deal. And it made him realise that, to focus on the now, on the game, on what he was doing, not focus on all those worries of the distant future, like will he ever be able to live, independently? Will he ever get a job? Will he ever get a girlfriend? All those things that, again, like when we negatively stack all those things that haven't happened to us yet, we can all go through. So we often do that as human beings. We forecast into the future a lot of bullshit, negative projections that probably will never happen, but by doing that we put ourselves through them there and then in that moment. So that's what we're talking about, not doing that. So he says, when he was 19, I gave a speech to several thousand of the world's most successful business owners. Sandwiched between the Senator Obama, this is before Obama was president obviously, and Dr. Stephen Covey, who we've mentioned on another scope. He wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So he says, once I gave that talk, it's no wonder every speech since then has been a whole lot easier. So think about that for a second, Lewis asks. In 8 years, Kyle went from crying himself to sleep every night, wondering if he'd ever have a girlfriend, or a job, or a place of his own, to speaking to a room full of business luminaries, between the future President of the United States and the author of one of the most successful self-help business books of all time. And it all started with a tackle on the football field with one little action, which is amazing. So we are our greatest ally in terms of our capability to get past adversity. We can be incredibly motivated, Kyle often says. It all lies in how we perceive and engage the adversity that we face. So that's absolutely it. It's kind of going, right, how are we going to engage with these things in our lives that we see as adversity, as challenges, and how are we going to connect with those? Are we going to connect with them in a way where we just focus on everything that we can lose in this situation, or are we going to focus on what we can gain from this situation? So we then go on, I'm just going to read a couple more pages before we do this exercise, looking at the language of internal diversity, so how you kind of interpret it when you face adversity. It says, one of the things it took me a long time to learn about adversity, especially in my own life, is that adversity isn't always external or physical. In fact, it usually isn't. I first started to understand this through my work on emotional intelligence with Chris Lee. You can hear about Chris Lee in chapter 3 of Lewis's book. If you buy the book, you should definitely buy the book. But it wasn't until I sat down with Nicole Lapin, about money, that my eyes opened to how broadly adversity can manifest itself in our lives. So we'll hear a bit about Nicole's story now. It says, Nicole is a finance expert who spent years as a reporter and anchor for networks like CNBC, CNN and Bloomberg before striking out on her own to write a New York Times best-selling book called Rich Bitch, which is all about, what a great title, about getting your financial life in order. Her book's fantastic, and man or woman, if you've always had money or finance issues, you should definitely pick it up and read it cover to cover. But what struck me about Nicole when we met was the story of her path to financial reporting that began remarkably at age 18. It was a journey that was almost over before it began, thanks to a whole different brand of adversity, the internal kind. Okay, so Rich Bitch, Sasha, get the book. If you're into money and you struggle with your finances and keeping your finances going, check that book out. Yeah, Nicole Lapin, or Lapin, L-A-P-I-N. But But we'll have a look at this. So this is about internal adversity, guys. So not necessarily, you know, external events and things like that. You might be facing this too. So the internal kind. So a first-generation American, Nicole grew up with immigrant parents who operated a 100% cash household. This is interesting, and I know a few people who've done this. A 100% cash household. So what do we mean by that? No credit cards, no loans, nothing that typically defined the average American's relationship with money. It was all cash, all of the time. Bill Blackwood, good evening. Thanks for joining us. So she says, we didn't have the Wall Street Journal on the kitchen counter. We never talked about stocks or bonds or any of that. I never learned it in school, so I was pretty clueless growing up, Nicole told me. I was that awkward girl with no debit card who went out to dinner with girlfriends and either dropped a wad of cash or wrote a check. The final straw came when she was at college at Northwestern University in Chicago, and she needed to buy a last-minute airline ticket. Now, the convenient thing would have been to hop on the computer and buy one online, as we all do. There was just one problem. She didn't possess a credit card. Instead, she had to go to the bank, withdraw cash, and roll up to the counter at the airport and pay for the ticket with a wad of bills. I said, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. I needed to take control of my life and my finances. So that's what Nicole said after that. Except, how do you do that? How do you take control of your financial life and set yourself on a path toward a career in business news when finance is essentially a foreign concept to you? You know, when you can't learn from your parents, when you live in a country where they don't teach you how to master and manage your money, not in elementary school or high school or college, even if you take finance classes. That's when I realised it's just a language, like anything else that's new. It's a very foreign language, but it's just a language, Nicole said. She was totally right. Every single new thing we attempt in our lives is like a new language. The language of MMA, so mixed martial arts, like we just heard with Kyle, and mountain climbing. Probably scared the crap out of Kyle when he first thought about tackling those feats. The language of LinkedIn and the challenge and the language of business scared Lewis half to death when he was planted on his sister's couch staring at like the end of his career when he snapped his anterior cruciate ligament and could no longer play football. You know, getting started is always the hardest part of doing anything new. You've got to overcome all those fears and anxieties of saying the wrong thing or looking foolish. How many people have had that in their acting career where they've kept stum at an acting class or in an audition because they didn't want to ask about the script, or they didn't want to ask about a scene in the script or anything like that because they thought they would look stupid if they didn't ask the question, or if they were given a piece of direction from the director or a casting director and they just didn't understand it, but instead they went, oh yeah, I get it, and then went on to just perform the same performance they did 5 minutes earlier because they didn't actually get the language that person was talking about, or that new piece of information. Feel people won't employ me, which stops me a lot, loads of times. So what's the biggest reason you feel for that, Carl? What's like the biggest reason that you think they won't? Let us know that, because that's going to be for you a big limiting belief, which is just a limiting belief. It's not a because of the stick. Okay. So I mean, that's an interesting one. So anyone facing like a physical adversity, if you have a physical issue where you might struggle with walking long distances, or you might not be strong in a particular element of your body or whatever, like I say, I'm partially sighted, to let that kind of stop you from moving forward and really believing in your own potential is going to totally crush that success cycle that I talked about when I came in. So it goes potential, belief in yourself, that dictates the action you take, that dictates the results you get, which dictates the belief. So it's more of an embarrassment. Okay, yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I've had that with my eyes in the past. It's something that I used to be I'd hide it, and I'd try and blame it on being clumsy or something like that if I kicked something or walked into something. I got to the point in my life where it's like, I can no longer kind of hide this. It's very obvious that there's something wrong, so I'll try and pass it off on something else. I can't do that anymore. And all I have found, honestly, since opening up about it and talking about it openly, is that people for me, opening up internally, the outside world has like opened its arms to me in terms of people being fascinated in it, people taking curiosity in it, giving me time, adapting things for me so that I'd still be able to do it. And my I talk about this in Bulletproof Actor, but my condition brought about the biggest casting opportunity I have ever had this year. There's a great BAFTA-winning writer called Jack Thorne who wrote a drama for BBC Three earlier this year called Don't Take My Baby, and the lead character in it has the same condition that I've got. It's called retinitis pigmentosa. I auditioned for this part of this lead guy, and it was down to the wire, but I didn't get it in the end. They couldn't couple us up with the person who you were supposed to be, the girl who is this guy's girlfriend in it as well. She had to be in a wheelchair, so she had a lot of physical disability. Awesome story, you should check it out. But Jack was so pleased with my audition, and we got on really, really well, that he ended up writing me a part in it anyway. And the girl who played Anna in the a girl called Ruth Madeley, awesome actress, who played Anna, which was this guy's girlfriend in it. She was in a wheelchair in real life, and she gets, still plows on with her acting career. It opens just as many opportunities for her as it kind of takes them away, I guess. There's always going to be stuff that is relevant for you in your situation in this industry. That's the greatest thing about it. When we're telling stories about people, beautiful thing about the stories we're telling is that everybody in the story is just a human being, and human beings can have and do have all the same adversity that we have in real life. So don't let things like that, and things that you have in your life like that you have no control over, stop you from taking action, because it will just it will just cripple your success cycle completely. I used to be there though. For me it would be a huge limiting belief. I go, I can't do theatre at university because when the lights go out, because it also affects your night vision, the condition I've got, I can't see in blackout. So how am I supposed to move scenery around? How am I supposed to get off stage? And I spent a lot of time in lunch times walking around the stage with my eyes closed, figuring out my actions so I could get off stage in a blackout. The minute I stopped doing that and I actually just fessed up and said to the directors, look, I struggle with this, I've got this condition, there's nothing I can do about it, they were like, oh my god. I remember Roger Haynes, he went, right, we're going to make a real spectacle of all the scene changes. So we're going to turn the lights on during the scene changes, we're going to play music, we're going to choreograph them, and we're going to turn them into part of the show. I was like, wow, this blows my mind, because beforehand I was so embarrassed to say anything, I never said anything. And then I would have had to have done all those scene changes in the dark like normal, struggled. He was like, let's make a spectacle of them, and it was just amazing. I'm badly asthmatic, and that often worries me. Yeah, so exactly, Kim. We've all got these things. I bet there's everyone on this scope who has got that embarrassment, that thing that's not perfect about them. No human being is perfect physically, in every single department. We've all got, an issue in something. Did a play at Larry this year just to prove my point. There you go. So you did a play and you got through it then, I'm guessing, Carl, and it all was good. So in that case, you've disproved your own limiting belief, and you just need to engage, as we're reading here, engage with that adversity a little bit differently. Just flip your mindset, and use it to propel you forward, as opposed to stop you moving from forward. So like we're told there, anything that you face in adversity, getting started is always the hardest part of doing anything. And they brought the stick in. There you go. People will, because when you are open and vulnerable, vulnerability, I teach people all the time, is one of the most empowering attributes a human being can have. When you're vulnerable to someone and you show somebody that you're vulnerable, 99% of the time they're like, what can I do for you? How can I make this better? How can I make this easier? They don't go, oh well, that's not convenient. You've got a stick. Don't want you to be in my show. Like you say, people will make a point of it, fit it in there, because the people in the shows, the characters, are human beings. They're going to have these flaws as well. We're all flawed in whatever way, but getting started is always the hardest part, okay? So you've got to overcome those fears and anxieties, as it says here, saying the right, don't worry about saying the wrong thing, looking foolish, being embarrassed, to own up and say stuff. Because it says here there can be a lot of shame involved. Shame has stopped more than a few people from doing important things they loved. Nicole recognised this, the girl with the money, had no education in money at all, and decided to jump in with both feet. She took a job on the floor of the Chicago Stock Exchange. So this is a girl who knew nothing about finance at all, had not grown up with it, was like, this is ridiculous. Rather than going, I'm just going to take baby steps and I'll learn a little bit at a time, she went, right, I'm getting a job in the stock market. So she said, when you start to speak that language, you feel you're speaking Chinese in your own country at first. She confessed, that's what happened to me, and when I started on the floor of the exchange, I had to learn the language really quickly. When I realised that it was just learning a language, and that if I learned it, I could join the conversation, I felt empowered. So Carl, man, you maybe just need to learn, you know, just continue to learn the language, you know, and the issue that you face, you know, you're going to feel empowered by it, you know, and you're going to be able to use it, you know, in positive ways. Lewis says he knows exactly what she meant because he experienced the same feeling when he was learning how to salsa dance in 2006. He was living above a jazz club that offered salsa dancing once a week, and he went down there committed to become the best tall, goofy white guy salsa dancer that he could be. Rachel's in the house, she's on the scope. Good evening, good to see you. Carl, you're getting there, you are, son. You got to keep it up, man. I've seen your attitude change in just like 2 weeks, which is awesome. So you're on the right track. It's like going to the gym though. You can't just go to the gym once and expect to have muscles. You've got to go every single day, and you've got to work your mind every single day as well to, you know, to keep that focus there. So Lewis, he said he was petrified when he was salsa dancing, but for 3 months he trained and studied. He had group classes, took private lessons, watched YouTube videos, and practiced in front of the mirror by himself. He says, if you think that's weird when I talk about it, imagine how weird it is when you're doing it. Sam, good evening, Sam's here. But I remember the moment when I finally understood the language of salsa dancing, and believe me when I tell you that when I started, it seemed like a completely foreign language. Nicole nailed it. It was absolutely like speaking Chinese. When it clicked and salsa started to make sense, as though I could speak the language fluently, I felt like I could run up the side of a building. I could do anything I set my mind to, no matter what obstacles, physical or mental, internal or external, stood in front of me. Nicole helped me reframe my outlook on adversity, not just what it is and where it comes from, but also how to address and overcome it. It's a lesson I will carry with me into every new challenge, because if there is one thing that is inescapable in life, to say nothing of the path to greatness, it's adversity. We dream and then reality smacks us in the face. We create a vision for ourselves, and soon enough we learn that the world is, at best, indifferent to it and us. In some cases, the world seems to want to do everything it can to get in our way. It shows up at nearly every stage along our path, from the early days of figuring out how to walk, learning in school, messing up your first kiss, practicing sports, starting a new business. We experience loads of pain, frustration and falling down. No one understands this better than Kyle, who we heard at the start of this chapter. He taught me that not only is no one immune to adversity, but that enduring your fair share of it is not an entirely bad thing. When we fall over and over in pursuit of excellence, it actually helps us learn and grow into greatness. Granted, Kyle has endured more than his fair share compared to someone like me. I don't have a congenital disability after all, but I still had obstacles to overcome. So that's all I'm going to kind of like read. It goes on and on and on, talking a bit more about the perspective and how the perspective of adversity is your choice. But we're now just going to look at 5 simple steps for you to kind of reframe any adversity that you might be facing right now. And like I say, I guarantee you probably are. If you're watching this scope, you probably are, because you're a human being, and like all of us, we're facing adversity. Okay, so whatever you are facing right now, step 1 to getting over this adversity is simple, and that's being aware of adversity first of all. Just had trouble connecting. Sam, you're here. Anyone else had trouble? Kim's had a bit of trouble. I think it's been kind of going all right from where I'm sitting in terms of me noticing it not cutting off like normal. If it does cut off, it's obvious for me. So hopefully the replay will be spot on. So if you've not managed to see all of this scope, you'll be able to go back and watch the replay. And you can also watch the replay on actonthis.tv if you click on Periscope from tomorrow. So if you're watching on the Sunday, which is now, it'll be available for the Monday. So step 1. Okay, you've got to be aware of adversity. And there's 2 types of adversity. There's the minor daily adversities that come up from time to time. It's fine at Lee's end, excellently, good stuff. And that's things like fighting in your relationship, not getting the raise you wanted at your job, getting parking tickets, receiving poor grades or homework, feeling exhausted and stressed, feeling unsafe in your environment. Okay, they're the daily adversities we can all face. They're the minor ones. Then sometimes we're faced with the major adversities, okay, and that's like the death of a family member, a car crash, an injury or illness, a major breakup, losing your job or going bankrupt, etc. So when you become aware that adversity is inevitable, we're all going to face it, it allows you to prepare for it happening in the future. Okay, so what adversities do you face right now? Okay, what in your life feels like it's standing in the way of fulfilling your vision and achieving greatness? Because step 2 is to write all that down. So 1 is being aware of adversity, 2 is writing it down. So now you're aware of the adversity, once you've asked yourself what you're currently facing, Write down how it's making you feel and why you think it's making you feel that way, okay? That helps you let go of the stress that you're feeling to a certain degree, and it gets it out of you, you know, where it can be the most toxic and the most damaging. If you keep it all on the inside, you know, Carl, if you don't talk about stuff or you don't express to directors you're working with the adversity that you're facing, it's going to be toxic. You keep it all inside and it just builds up and it becomes, you know, it just becomes like a self-destruct effectively. Whereas if you talk about it, you know, you get it out there and you write it down, you tell people about it, then you know, you can deal with it a lot easier. Third step is to acknowledge yourself, and that's not that's to acknowledge yourself for the good stuff that's already going on, that's not your adversity. So once you let your negative feelings go, replace it by acknowledging yourself for all that you have done that day, week, month or year. You know, you're up to big things. Everyone on this scope is up to big things, okay? Even if they seem small to you, they're always bigger than where you were earlier in your life. So most of the time, we generally compare ourselves to others in our family and our careers, and we do more harm by comparing ourselves rather than giving ourselves credit for where we are along the journey. So acknowledge yourself. You know, examples of this can be acknowledging yourself for being on time at work, consistently going to the gym or working out, eating clean, being, you know, sticking to your word, whatever that is. So third one is acknowledge yourself. So 1, what's your adversity? 2, write it down and get it out. Then 3, acknowledge yourself for all the good that you're doing. 4, we spoke about this. Instantly makes you feel better. Express your gratitude. It's hard to be upset when you're focusing on what you are grateful for. Verbally tell your significant other, so anyone in your life, a friend, a family member, or just someone around you, 3 things you're most grateful for in this moment. Then ask them what 3 things they are most grateful for in their lives. Obviously, you don't have to tell the other people that you're beating yourself up on the inside right now or anything like that, but just be aware in the moment and shift into a conversation of gratitude with people. When you give, you automatically receive. It's amazing what a compliment to someone opens up. So examples, I'm grateful for my amazing friends. I'm grateful for my health and that I can walk, see and feel. I'm grateful for my family and the support they give me. I'm grateful for the bed I get to sleep in. So that's step 4. And then step 5, the last step, is just reconnecting with your vision and taking action. Remember, we said earlier in this chapter, it's not about necessarily just your vision, it's about the action that you take. So return your focus to what you want to achieve and why you want to achieve it. Then figure out the next step to making that vision happen and take action towards it. Momentum helps build confidence and positive thoughts and feelings. So it's important to spring into action when you're down on yourself or feeling adversity. Having issues, just visit a friend and go to drive back to my base. As in, so you're off, Sammy. Sammy Sue, I think you meant you're struggling with the connection. That's okay, that's cool. You can catch up on the replay, no problem. Thanks for trying though, thanks for joining us. So the last thing is, it says whenever you're in breakdown, and you might be in breakdown right now, or you might have been in breakdown for a few weeks or a couple of months or even a year, you know, whenever that is and whatever adversity you face in your life. Whenever you're in breakdown or battling adversity in any situation in your life, this 5-step process will help you fight off the insidious nature of self-defeating, catch the replay Sam, no problem, of self-defeating negative thoughts and chart a positive path towards achieving your vision and becoming great. So that 5-step path, to recap once again: 1, be aware of adversity. What is it that's stopping you from greatness right now and getting in your way of being happy? 2, write it down and share it with people. Remember I said earlier, vulnerability is a hugely empowering thing. If you need help, ask people for help. 3, acknowledge yourself for the good that you're doing in your life or you've done in the last week, month, year, you know, whenever, you know, all the things that are going right in your life. And then step 4, be grateful and express gratitude for everything you are grateful for, and get other people around you to tell you what they're grateful for as well, because that'll bring it out in you as well. And then step 5, reconnect to your vision and take action on it. Okay, so what is it you want to do? Why do you want to do it, more importantly? And what's the next step you can do in order to achieve it? So that's kind of, you know, the scope on adversity, guys, turning adversity into advantage. Whatever you are facing though, seriously, you'll see what you look for. This is something that I preach a lot, but I'm totally, you know, massively passionate about. If you want to look at your adversity in the situation you're in now and see it for all the negatives it brings you, that's all you will see. And if you look for those things, you'll see them. If you want to look at your adversity and see what positive things it can bring, what you're learning from it, how you can be better next time, and what you can do, you know, to get yourself out of it, then you will see those things as well. So it's your choice. It's absolutely your choice. You get what you focus on. If you focus on all the negative things that are wrong, as Kyle said, you know, when he used to focus on the fact that he had no arms and legs, and whether he would ever get to live outside of his parents' house, ever have a girlfriend, ever have a job, that's all that he ever saw. The minute he stopped looking for that and he started seeing what he could do, he went after all those great things, and you know, and all those fears became distant memories of his. And he'll still, I'm sure, no matter who you are, he's still going to have those cropping up all the time, you know, as we're all human beings and life throws them at us. But it's how you connect with them, how you engage with that adversity, and the action that you take on it that's really going to, you know, really going to either set you up for a flight to the next level, you know, or a dive into the depths of hell and despair. So you have the choice. It's a really powerful thing that you possess is the gift of choice, and you have that choice right now. So just look at adversity, go through those 5 steps, write it down, you know, be aware of it, write it down, acknowledge yourself, be grateful, and then focus on your vision and start taking action again towards it. And so that's been helpful, guys. So we've read 4 chapters of Lewis's book. There's still 4 chapters that we've not even looked at, but we're going to be moving on to a new book for December. But get his book, The School of Greatness. You can get it from Amazon. If you're watching on actonthis.tv right now, the link will be under this video. It's about £15 for the hardback, but get yourself a copy for Christmas. Honestly, it'd be a great gift to yourself. So we're going to be looking at a new book next Friday. I don't know what it is. Well, it might be next Friday. I'm in LA now from Thursday until, well, for 10 days, until the Monday after the Monday after. Now I'm going to be scoping, but obviously I can't say it's going to be 10 PM. That'd be 2 PM in LA, but it might be. I'll try and make it that way. It might be slightly random times. It might not be on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday, depending on where I can get internet. But I will be hopefully bringing on. I'm going to meet a load of great people out there. So I'm going to hopefully bring on guests, and I might just do, you know, random scopes at random times, 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there. They won't probably be nearly as structured as they are when I'm sat at my desk at home and I can plan them. So it's going to be quite exciting. I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully I'm taking my MacBook, so I'll be able to record them at least. So if you can't catch them, if they are at random times, you know, they end up being in the middle of the night or something, you will still be able to catch up on them. But make sure you are following me. It's at Ross A. Grant. Tweet me as well. I'll be tweeting. Follow me on Instagram at Ross A. Grant as well. And come and join the Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Bulletproof Actor, because I will be putting quite a bit of content up there while I'm in LA. Some will be acting related, some will just be, you know, success related, mindset related, some will just be fun and related to nothing whatsoever. It might be some nice Christmas trees or some Christmassy things from LA, or sat in a Starbucks wasting some time. So yeah, join me. That'll be great. So thank you, and just think this week, you know, as we enter a new week, you know, try not to let that adversity control you. You know, and thanks, cheers Carl, I will do, mate, absolutely, but I'll keep in touch though. But yeah, don't let that adversity control you, don't let it limit you. You know, go out and prove to yourself that it doesn't need to. Take yourself out of your comfort zone, you know, do like we read in the book, you know, throw yourself in the deep end, you know, and just go and see what you can achieve. Because like I said at the start, man, I mean, this whole thing with my cat is just putting perspective into my life. I know it sounds a little thing as a cat, but it's not a little thing to me, it's a big thing, man. It's a member of my family. But it puts life into perspective, and we can't spend our lives fearing the future, regretting the past. We've got to live in the now and take control. So do that. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. The next time you see me, I will have some sunshine, hopefully. But have a fantastic week. I appreciate every single last one of you. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for you turning up time and time again. And I will catch up with you soon from LA. Bye for now.